Hello everybody. Here are some tips to help you set up your Zoom meetings, your classes, just the way you like. So I want to go over your settings for chats, screen sharing, and your breakout rooms. We'll do that in two parts. So one of the confusing things about Zoom is that some of your settings are found on the Zoom website, right here under the Settings tab. Other settings are found inside the meeting itself, that is, in the Zoom client that pops up once you start your meetings. So let's start by taking a look at the settings that are available here on the Zoom website. The list of settings is really quite long, and so the way that I find my way around them is by using the Find feature within the browser, Control F. So I want to search for settings related to the chat function. So here I've turned on the chat feature to allow students to write messages. The private chat is turned off. I don't want them privately messaging one another. And the auto-saved chats is turned on. So that way at the end of each class, it records the list of all the chats that the students have produced. So these are the chat settings that I like to use. And there's more settings that you'll find in the Zoom client, which we'll get to in just a little bit. Let's look at screen sharing. So I've entered screen into the Find feature, and it's brought up the Zoom settings related to screen sharing. So I like to have the screen sharing turned on for my students because I find that's a really important part of successful group work collaboration. They need to be able to share their screens with one another. So as a default, I like to keep this turned on. And then it says who can share. Well, I want all the participants to be able to share. There's another feature that's related to the screen sharing, which is annotation. I like to have that turned on, and the whiteboard feature turned on. So these are all helpful in allowing students to collaborate. And if you set it here within the Zoom settings, you're not worried about doing it every time when you start up your class. The next set of features we'll take a look at are the breakout rooms. So again, here you can type in breakout, and we can check here that the breakout room feature is turned on. Here's one more feature to take a look at within the Zoom settings, and that is the renaming feature. So there's an option here that allows participants to rename themselves. Now, usually we don't want our students to do that, so just make sure that feature is turned off. And once we have that, then we're ready to take a look at the features that are found in the Zoom client itself. So once we start our Zoom meeting. Okay, so let's go there and check this out. I'm going to start up my own class. So here's my grade 9 science class. I hit start. And here we are in the Zoom client now. Hello, everybody. So one of the reasons why it's helpful to adjust some of the settings in the Zoom website is once you've started your Zoom meeting, there's certain settings you simply cannot change using the Zoom client here that we're in now. So let's take a look at what we can change. So first of all, go to the chat. I'll open up the chat box. And here at the side where you see the three dots and it says more, you can bring up some more features about your chat. And this is a helpful one to adjust depending on how you're using Zoom. So we've allowed our students to chat with one another. And so we can adjust that chat so they can chat with the host only. So this is helpful if you are leading the class and you want feedback from the students, but don't want them seeing each other's chat. However, if the students are working in their breakout groups, you want to make sure that they can send their chat messages to one another. So that would be everyone publicly. So there are those two settings within your chat that you can adjust at this point in the meeting. Okay, let's close the chat window. We'll bring up the participants window. So right now there is just me as part of this meeting. And if you go to the bottom corner, the 3 dots, that brings up the different features that help you control what's happening with the participants. This is something that you often want to make sure the students can't do. So make sure that the feature allowing people to rename themselves is not enabled. So turn off the renaming feature, and that way everybody has their proper names. Okay, so let's take a look at the next set of features. So we have the screen share down at the bottom here. So if we click the up arrow, that's part of the screen share button, we can bring up the advanced sharing options. So here you also have the opportunity to change some of the screen sharing controls that you saw in the web-based Zoom settings. So I like to have all participants able to share, and it's helpful if it's one person sharing at a time. So this is one of the features you can change once you have started off your Zoom meeting, your class. And then we get into the breakout rooms. So the way that I've set up my class is I already have groups programmed in, and I'll show you how to do that in a later segment. But there's a bunch of options that go along with your breakout rooms, and you can find that control here. So depending on how you are using the breakout rooms, how you want students to be able to use them, you might want to allow the participants to choose their room. This is what I do. That way, if students know they belong in group A3, then when I turn on the breakout rooms, they'll click on that and they're off in the right place. And then after that, there's some minor details that you can adjust here about the countdown and so on. But those I'll leave for you to play with. Here's one more tip about the settings available in Zoom. If you look at the stop video button, there's a little up arrow here. And then there's an option for video settings. This is a sneaky trick that Zoom has played on us because this actually brings up a whole slew of settings, not just for the video, but for many other features that are found within Zoom. So for example, the screen share features that we mentioned before are available here. So those controls are available. There are some extra settings for chat, but they don't control the settings that we had previously discussed, and more. So if you're looking for some extra settings, you can find them under the Stop Video button, the up arrow, and then the video settings. So those are some handy settings for you to get your Zoom meeting just right. We have the chat, the screen share, the rename, and the breakout room controls. I hope you found that helpful.